I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so can you guys all see this?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Yes.
So here we have Color My Moment. I'd like to start this presentation by posing a question. A question that only group therapists and stand-up comedians ever really ask. How is everyone feeling today? Some of you may answer happy if you had a good morning, or perhaps sad like our friend here. Hopefully none of you are bored yet, but the point is we can all identify the emotions we have and are able to express them to others. And we have long since come to take that for granted, but it really is a powerful thing. So now imagine for a second that this inherently fundamental aspect of human socialization was stripped away from you. How would you feel if you didn't know how you felt? It would be like having a word on the tip of your tongue, but never being able to get it out. Your body paints a picture, but your brain can't tell what colors it used. Ladies and gentlemen, Color My Moment is the solution to this exact problem. So, what is Color My Moment? Color My Moment is an interactive, customizable, web-based feelings chart that is meant to aid professionals in tracking the social emotional learning of special needs students. And for those of you unfamiliar with what a feelings chart is, a feelings chart is a traditionally physical tool used to help help children communicate their emotions. And as you can see by this picture down here, gives an example of a feelings chart, just a few images with captions and a little area for the child to write how they're feeling. Now, the target demographic for this website is special needs students ages 4 to 9. And this is because they suffer most when it comes to social emotional learning. Now, let's take a look at design objectives and specifics. The team's goal in terms of interface design was to create an engaging, game-like environment that would captivate children and encourage interaction. And this diagram right here gives a good breakdown of the structure of this game element. So in the main room, you have 6 core emotions, and by clicking on any of them, you're taken to their corresponding room with their sub-emotions. So for example, if you were to click on happy, you would get joyful, individual success, team success, and others. And every emotion has their own corresponding set of sub-emotions. Functionally, the project aims to accomplish a few things. 1, to allow users to create accounts which are linked to their specific information. 2, to store said information in a database capable of handling a minimum of 6 classrooms with an average number of roughly 25 students. 3, to graphically display the social emotional learning progress of these classrooms to check for regression. And 4, to make it possible for users to populate the rooms with custom images for personalized communication of emotions. So now that we talked about what Color My Moment is, let's go into the background that went into making it. So here we talk about technology in special education, which some of you might think is a niche market until you consider that over 6 million students fall under the Disabilities Education Act in the United States alone, constituting almost 13% of all public school students. And technology is already present in special education. Some technologies currently used in special education classrooms include sensors and motors to open doors, text-to-speech and dictation programs, and touchscreen tablets. So there's definitely a market need and an easy way to integrate and implement this website. So let's go a little bit into the background of the market research. So our project is based off Momenar, invented by a mad scientist, clearly. I'm just kidding. Our very own Professor Chaja. If you're listening to this, please don't fail me. Momenar uses the merge cube to make models appear when viewed through a smartphone. We were tasked with translating Momenar into something that can be viewed through the web without the need for the merge cube. By going online and removing the need for the merge cube, we have improved accessibility to Momenar, turning it into Color My Moment. So essentially, by removing the need for the cube, we've streamlined Momenar and turned it into Color My Moment. So here's a bit about the background into the technology used for the project. 3JS, a JavaScript library and software designed to allow easy integration of 3D models on web browsers, was recommended by Professor Chaja and proved to be relatively easy to implement. MariaDB was used for our database due to its license and easy integration with PHP and LightPD. Light PD was used for the web servers due to our limited hosting resources and the small scope of the site currently. PHP was used for database handling and business logic. So now that we've gone into the background, let's view the approach in terms of the development process. So the team used an agile methodology for the development of this project. We worked in 2-week sprints to reach a shared objective. Sprints consisted of weekly meetings. The team would meet 1 or 2 times a week to assign research spikes, check in on current progress, and collaborate. Spikes themselves, research done into specific topics related to the week's objective. Coding, working directly on development of the project. Scrum reports, all individual work was tracked weekly using Airtable. And as you can see here, here's an example of one of those Scrum reports. Documentation, the sprint's work was summarized in a single document. And here's an example of a one-pager that summarizes the entire progress of that sprints. So let's look at the approach in terms of the design and implementation. So the game element was written entirely in JavaScript using Three.js. The data-focused backend was produced in PHP. The data is then shared between the two sides, where time spent are sent to PHP scripts to update and query the database. Each room is a scene in Three.js, and all objects, such as lights and figures, in those scenes are children of the scene. And here we have a basic use case diagram for the navigation of the app. So these are group member contributions. Spearheading the JavaScript front-end development with Three.js, Greg helped establish the core foundation of the game side code. He also helped with QA efforts on the entire project. Handling the 3D models that were delivered by our shareholder, Daniel was critical in translating those models and animations into something usable for Three.js. Furthermore, he helped keep the group focused on our business objectives. The database extraordinaire, Mark, helped facilitate the creation of our relational database schema. He also provided crucial insight with many of our research spikes. Responsible for keeping the entire project on track and on time as a Scrum Master, Ricardo, also provided artistic direction for the game side design. Organizing the back-end PHP and helping establish connections between the front and back-end, Tim helped with integrating all various parts of the project. So here we have a quick demo of the website. As you can see, showcased here, one of the key aspects of Color My Moment that differentiated us from similar products is the inclusion of customizable images. Image customization can function sort of like an ink blot test. The user ascribes meaning to images based on a deeper understanding of their current emotional state. And as you see, we have the option to save and clear the current gallery. So here we're going to show a user login. However, if you didn't happen to have an account, you could easily create one using the register hyperlink or reset your password using the forgot password hyperlink. Once the user is logged in, by clicking on their email address, it takes them to a page where they can view what emotions they've been interacting with. As you see here, there's no current activity to display, so the total time is 0. But now if you go back to the main page and click on some of these emotions, we might be getting some activity there. So clicking on any of the paintings, the corresponding 6 emotions takes you to their room. And the subsequent room shows the sub-emotions. For example, this is anger's room. This room is then populated with paintings of the sub-emotions relating to that core emotion. Clicking on any of these paintings brings up a 3D model that appears in the room and plays an animation that helps convey the sub-emotion. This one, for example, is internal tantrum. Here we have fighting with others. And jealousy. Clicking on the back arrow will take you to the main room. Now let's take a look at fear's room. Well, looks like Fear's getting scared by a spider here. I mean, that's a pretty big spider. I think I'd be scared too. Okay, so let's take a look at one more room. And I do want to mention that all emotions are currently implemented, but for the sake of time, we decided to just highlight a few. Now here, boredom seems to be uninterested in the objects around him. And now if you would return to the stats page, you can see that it has been updated with all our current interactions. So for example, fighting with others have 17 seconds. Internal tantrum has 9 seconds for a total time of 74 seconds overall. And the professionals that utilize the website would have access to the stats of the entire class. As you see, there are example users with their saved interactions graphically represented in a pie chart. And we just populated it with a few sample users with a few different interactions. And if no data is available, then a simple message, sorry, no data is displayed. And more towards the bottom, you get to see that there's the combined data of the class as a whole. And it displayed the most viewed emotion overall along with its total score. The pie graph displays the most viewed emotion of each child, allowing the professionals to monitor regression on social emotional learning. Okay, so as you saw in the video, the current build of the app, the current build of the website is able to allow users to create accounts linked to the information, store information in the database meeting requirements, display SEL progress to check for regression, and make it possible for users to populate the rooms with custom images. So not only is the project complete, but it is currently live at colormymoment.com. So further development. Increased security measures could be implemented to further add to the legitimacy of the project to make it viably usable in a real-world setting. More development for the site backend, including a UI for class interaction, class organization, more user options, and other such functions can be implemented. We could also introduce better controls for mobile/touch-enabled devices. We could also increase the quality or adjust the scale of the models. We could also make it so that when you save custom images, they're loaded in upon login. We could also work on HTTPS implementation with LightPD. And we can enable preset textures for walls in sub-emotional scenes so the users can make a scene look like a certain setting. For example, a school or a bedroom. We could also make a splash screen where all the models are loaded prior to loading the first scene. So once again, I ask, how is everyone feeling today? And I hope that even if it is just bored, you can take solace in the fact that we are able to identify and express them. Because while we might be ending on a happy slide, the sad truth is many children out there are not so fortunate. So for the sake of those painters, left with only a seemingly blank canvas to guide them, let us pick up our brushes and color this moment. Thank you. And I would now like to open it up for any questions that you guys may have.
This is Bruce Rosner. Did you have any input from these professionals that work with children, or any feedback from them as to what they thought of this? Because I have no experience with this kind of stuff, so I'm wondering if you consulted with the people that know how to use this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, actually, we used a little bit of the research that the professor had done. He had done research into, because he originally built the app and his wife is a child psychologist. So they kind of made research based on like interacting and with the cube. And it was shown that like tactile, like the fact that it was like tactile made it more engaging. So we kind of aim to like in a way like supplement that by making it kind of like game like so that like a child would be engaged and totally present while they were using the app. As far as like our research, we did do market research into special education, not all of us what was presented here, but we didn't meet with any professionals particularly, but we did do our research in terms of special education.
Okay, thanks.
So are you thinking that the youngest children are able to use this on their own, or are they going to need help?
Well, I think the youngest children will probably need the guidance from the professional. Ideally, the professional would be in the room at the time of use. So, for example, the professional might like populate the room with a certain image and then discuss with the child like if like what emotions that brings up or what room that certain image would belong in. But I think overall, it's meant to be used with the aid of a professional, but I definitely think that younger children would be able to navigate the app, especially since kids are getting exposed to technology younger and younger these days.
Yeah, along that line, you might think of providing the raw data in Excel format for professionals to, pull off and analyze more deeply as an enhancement.
Yeah, that actually be a pretty good idea. Just a simple Excel sheet for the use of the professional. I mean, that's definitely something to consider if we're gonna, pursue this further. You're right.
Is this hosted online, or did you just do it all on a single PC or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's hosted online, but mainly our team leader, Timothy, worked on it. So yeah, it's on a VPS actually. It's got it on my notes.
Alrighty, with that, I'll thank our speakers with a virtual clap there. So I do want to thank the Color My Moment group